There's nothing quite like it. It's a radical Jewish invention. It's called the Shabbat. Even though the world, in ancient world, knew about and had divided time into patterns of 7, it had never conceived of the idea of a day of rest, Shabbat. This week's parasha presents us with the 10 commandments, and the fourth of those 10 commandments rings out with its proclamation, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekodsho. Remember the Shabbat day, sanctify it, make it different, make it special. The ancients were outraged by this. They saw it as a day of laziness, a day of escaping from reality. Some more contemporary people have also seen in this idea of a Shabbat as something a bit crazy. After all, the kind of culture that we live in today is about go, 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 busy, busy, busy. And the idea of stopping for 24 hours, turning off your phone, no iPhone, no iPad, no computer, no phone, no music. That surely is not a day of rest. That's not a day of recreation. That's a day of hardship and servitude. The Shabbat, what does it say to us today? I want to read you something that comes from a book written by Senator Lieberman. You may remember Senator Joe Lieberman. He was the 2000 Democratic vice presidential candidate. And he published a book called The Gift of Rest, Rediscovering the Beauty of the Shabbat. And he says in his book something really interesting. He said, when people ask me, how can you stop your work as a senator to observe the Sabbath each week? And I answer them saying, how could I do all my work as a senator if I did not stop to observe the Shabbat each week? What Joe Lieberman is asserting, and what I'd like to reiterate, is that you may not choose to observe the Shabbat as an observant Jew. You may be put off by some of the minutiae and the stringencies of the Shabbat. But if you ignore the Shabbat, you do yourself a disservice. You're missing out on something vital and rich and healthy. I know most of you are aware of the benefits of a Friday night meal. That special Shabbat time, family around the table, people just unwinding and spending time together. But the Shabbat is not just about Friday night. It's also about having a whole day in which you get to recharge, a day in which you get to renew, a day in which you also get to be freed from the tyranny of time. It was Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote a great book called The Sabbath, and in it he speaks about the Shabbat and the architecture of time. He speaks about how our lives are so filled with getting and doing, and filled with with things of space, that we need to also create moments in time, the architecture of time. And so Heschel says to us, take time out. And what the Shabbat says to contemporary human beings as well, is that we need to take time out. We live in a crazy, busy, fast culture, but we need to also discover the ability to slow down. The Shabbat is a weekly reminder to slow down. By slowing down, you actually activate parts of yourself that otherwise have been shut off by the busyness. Joe Lieberman suggests a few ways to get started on the Shabbat. Take a shlof, he says, or do nothing for an hour or two on the day. Set aside some particularly relaxing and enjoyable reading. Try not wearing a watch. Consider, he says, turning off the TV, computer, mobile, or all three, if not for the whole day, well, at least for part of it. Go out of your way to interact with others. Take a walk. Elevate your talk. Rather than gossip, seek ideas, discuss ideas. Avoid talking about business. And of course, I'll add, visit your shul. Come once a month. Come every 2 months. Why schmooze at the wall when you can schmooze at shul? And finally, I'd like to share with you a beautiful poem which, to me, conveys to us something of the importance of slowing down, of savoring time, of savoring our experience with nature and with other human beings. It's a poem by William Davies. What is this life if full of care, We have no time to stand and to stare. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. No time to see in broad daylight streams of stars like skies at night. A poor life this is, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. Shabbat reminds us, take time out, take time to stand and stare.